everybody that comes into the language industry, especially from my generation, it was by chance. I grew up in 6 countries because of my father's career. And when I was 19, I was back into my home country, Brazil. And I found out that I could teach languages. And that's how I started working. And then one day, somebody asked my brother if he could translate from Italian into Portuguese. There was a film festival in Brazil, and the Italian translator who used to translate the Italian movies died. And they needed somebody to replace him, and they couldn't find it. There was no internet at the time. It was not that easy. It was word of mouth. My brother said, "Oh, I'm not interested, but Renato really likes this stuff about languages." And I was fortunate enough to be paired with a very talented, one of the most well known movie translators at the time in Brazil. He was the only translator that signed his translations, his subtitles. He would put his name, S. Rocha Spiegel, at the end of every translation. So everybody knew this guy. Everybody wanted to be like him and have his name. Today, it's natural to give credit to translators in movies and videos, but that was not the case at the time. I'm talking about 1982. And this is how I started. And from then, uh, other jobs started, and I started my career in subtitling and dubbing, translation for subtitling and dubbing. That was a very, very different process than it is today. Just to give you a hint of the challenges that we had at the time, um, the subtitles are centralized in the screen, so on the screen. And in order to send, and there were no computers, you worked with a typewriter. So in order to centralize the subtitles, you would have to first type the translation, do the translation, and then write the subtitles. And you would count how many characters there were in the sentence, let's say 26. And then you would put the typewriter in the center. There was a button that you could center. You center, and then you counted backwards half of the characters. So you would go backspace, backspace 13 times, type the translation, it would be centered, and then you would do the same thing for the second line, right? So it was very manual. It wasn't digital. There was no video. It was a film, and the subtitle needed to be burnt on the film. It was quite an adventure, and the timing process was very time consuming, and but it was a lot of fun. And I started translating Italian into Portuguese. Then I started doing English also, and eventually that became my career. And 2 years later, when I was around 23, I started my translation company because I realized that as a translator working 10 hours a day, that was how much money I was going to make for the rest of my life. So I realized that I needed to scale, and I started a translation company around 1980. In 2016, I had been working in 2 LSPs as an executive. And the last one was a company called Moravia that is today part of RWS. And I had left the company. I didn't know what I was going to do. And I was invited to teach a class at the Middlebury Institute in Monterey, which was very nice. It's a class called The Business of Translation. It's a class I give every year. It's a weekend workshop that I try to tell students about the dynamics of the translation business. And in doing that class, I decided to write a book, which is called The General Theory of the Translation Company. Today, I just received the Spanish translation of the book, so I have the cover here. So that class generated this book, and I couldn't write the book alone. I'm not, how do you say, a very good writer. I don't have the discipline to write. So I invited Tucker Johnson, who was a colleague of mine at Moravia, to be my co-author. I didn't want a ghostwriter. I wanted a co-author, somebody that had experience and could add content to it. And Tucker used to work with me at Moravia. He was responsible for the biggest account in our industry and in our company. And I invited him to write the whole section about the project management, which is a very important section in the book. And we then started working together. And when we finished the book, we published the book. I realized that I didn't have anything to do. We should start a business. And I had co-founded a company called, today it's called CSA Research. I co-founded that company, and I realized that they didn't have any competition, and I needed to create a new market research company. So I talked to Tucker, and we decided to build this business based on the book being the foundation. And the idea was to create a different way of doing market research. The way that market research has been done in our industry was very academic. And our proposition with Nimdzi was to do something more 21st century, something that is more practical, focused, not so much text heavy, but information heavy. And that was the story about having Nimdzi. Naturally, in the beginning, the idea of Nimdzi was to be another CSA Research, a competitor to CSA Research. But over time, we have become a different type of company. We have our own niche. There are some areas that overlap, but we have a very diverse group of clients, and we're much bigger. We're probably 30 people working in the. So we are at an inflection point in our industry right now. Everybody's talking about the impact of AI, generative AI in the industry. However, I don't think that this is necessarily something bad or something scary, and that this is the end of the industry. I actually believe that the language services industry over the years has gone through several cycles like this, where there is a new technology that comes into the market and disrupts it, apparently disrupts it. But whenever there is a disruptive technology, the industry grows, and everybody's afraid, and then it takes off and grows again. So let me approach this from a couple of angles. First of all, let's talk about AI. I have written an article that is on LinkedIn that you can find it in my profile that is called NMT is the first form of AI. So the language industry is usually a pioneer in adopting new technologies forever. If you think about it, whenever there is a new technology that is launched, it is immediately launched in multiple languages. So that means that a translator or a group of translators had been working in that technology before it was even launched. So during the pandemic, everybody was talking about the revolution of remote work. We have been doing this for 20 years in the language industry. We have been pioneers in the freelance, in the gig economy. Every new trend that it is, the translators have been working and have been doing that for a long time before. So what I was saying about the neuro-machine translation being the first form of AI is that generative AI, which is the topic that everybody's talking about today, was really developed on top of a technology called the transformer model. And the transformer model is a computing process, an approach that Google has developed for when they moved from statistical machine translation to neuro machine translation. So the foundation of generative AI is a technology that was created for translating content. Imagine that the way that neuro machine translation works is that you put a sentence in a source language, that's the prompt, and the result of the prompt is the translation of it. So the guys of OpenAI and so on decided, oh, instead of putting a language and getting the output in a target language, I can put a question and it can generate an answer for me using the transformer model. So what we have been using, what everybody has used, Google Translate, DeepL, or whatever machine translation technology that you use for fun, is an early form of generative AI, which is the big revolution. So what everybody is seeing as the novelty, we in the language industry have been using it for 6-7 years. So first of all, generative AI is not a revolution for us. It's just an increment. It's an incremental innovation. It's not a disruptive innovation. It doesn't change much for us. Neural machine translation has problems. Generative AI in translation has certain problems that neural machine translation doesn't have. Generative AI is more expensive, it's slower, it hallucinates, it's less accurate than machine translation is. So what I see that everybody's saying, oh, this is going to kill translation, it's actually going to create some different tasks for us. Generative AI is an excellent assistant in quality control, in quality estimation, in evaluating your own work. You can use your translation using machine translation and ask generative AI to review it, to improve the quality, to change the terminology, verify if the terminology is correct or not. So the big trend, the big fear in our industry is how generative AI is going to replace us. It's not going to replace. So that's the conversation of the moment. What I see coming in the future is that generative AI is impacting every activity, every business activity that you can imagine. And translation, the beauty of translation is that translation happens whenever there is communication, whenever there is an exchange of knowledge. And that exchange of knowledge can be training, can be manuals, can be social media, can be customer service, can be any type of videos, can be any type of communication among people. So the more content, the more knowledge, the more communication, the more translation. This is the sequence. And so if I think that there's going to be new technologies that are being created and enabled because there's more computing power, it's cheaper to create things, it's cheaper to design and create, there's going to be more demand for translation as we move forward. However, the fear that people that are listening to me have is that, oh, how does that affect me? Why am I getting less and less work? Why are people trying to pay me less and less money? So there are going to be some changes that are going to affect the way we do business. With technology, we improve our productivity. We can do more in less time. We can do better quality with fewer resources. In the past, I used to collect dictionaries. I used to have 3,000 dictionaries in my library. Today, I seldom see a translator talking about a dictionary. You can have all information online. So this creates a new work environment, a new productivity. The value of your knowledge is more important than your typing skills or your capability to use Stratos and technologies like that. So there's going to be a shift in the way we work. And every time there is a shift, there is pain, there is change because you need to adapt to a new environment. So for the time being, until the economics of the translation business adjusts, there's going to be some loss. But the reality is that there is more content to be translated than there are people to do the job. So if you are technology savvy, if you are open to learning, if you are prepared to change, uh, you'll be fine. If you are resistant to change and you just want to complain that LSPs are exploiting you, you're going to be stay in the past and you'll probably become obsolete, not because you're becoming obsolete, not because you're not necessary. You're becoming obsolete because you're not adapting to the change. This is a very interesting question. Differentiation is a tough word, right? Uh, in sales, there is a maxim, there is a mantra that you should learn. Make yourself equal before you make yourself different. Most people want to buy things that they know. Differentiation is not that important, right? There is very little differentiation among inside the translation industry. Everybody offers the same thing. Everybody delivers pretty much the same output. Uh, the interesting thing is that um, I made a presentation many years ago at the ATA that was called "Quality Doesn't Matter," and I started making that presentation by asking everybody in the room, all translators, uh, who thought that their key differentiation was their quality, that they provided the best quality possible. And this is why their clients should work with them. And everybody in the room raised their hand. And then I said, look around. If everybody's offering the best quality, nobody's offering the best quality. There's no differentiation. It's not your differentiator. Offering the best quality is what the client expects from you, right? So the way you differentiate is on things that have nothing to do with translation. You differentiate on the quality of your service, your responsiveness, your ability to take new challenges, your um, um, expertise, right? Let's say that you are an expert in a small niche that you, I don't know, I'm making it up, that you specialize in solenoid valves, not any type of valve, solenoid valve or something like that. I specialize in, I don't know, gastroenterology, not medical translation. I specialize in gastroenterology. If you have a little niche, then you can, that can be a differentiator. You're the real expert in that type of translation. So differentiation is not the most important thing. It's how you present yourself and how you become memorable for your client. The way I do an exercise when I do consulting projects with LSPs, I ask a project manager, it's Friday, 6 p.m., and you get a request for a translation into German. Who do you call? Every single company that I go, somebody immediately gives me a name, Heike, Hans, or whatever, right? And I say, why did you think of that translator first? And I say, let me guess, because they always say yes, they're always available, they deliver on time, they don't complain about the price, they're happy to be your supplier. And they say yes. And look, I didn't tell you what was the subject. I didn't tell you what was the size of the project. I didn't tell you what was the price. and you immediately remember that person. So, what differentiates, what makes you be memorable, what makes you stay in the mind of that project manager that is going to buy from you are things that have nothing to do with your expertise. There are things that have to do with the quality of your service and how you are as a professional working with your clients. So the most important differentiator is actually be a nice person, be responsive, uh, uh, be friendly. And if the client comes to you with a project that you cannot do, refer a friend, refer somebody else, help the client solve the problem. And this is human nature. This is the same thing for cleaning services, for dentists, for engineers, as it is for translators. Any professional needs to work as a professional. At the end of the day, it's not the quality of the translation that is going to differentiate you, because the client expects that you're always going to deliver the best quality. This is why they're buying from you. You are the expert. And take care of the other things. Send them a little chocolate at the end of the year. Uh, say happy birthday on their birthday, and those are the human touches. Those are the personal relations that are going to guarantee you a constant flow of business. And do that with as many clients as you can. One of the most important skills for any professional is curiosity. And I don't know if that is a skill or, let's say, characteristic. And curiosity means you want to know what's going on. You're following the industry trends, the industry news. You're talking to people. You're participating in groups. Let me share with you a couple of experiences. First of all, uh, from as soon as the internet started, one of the very first things that you started sharing were news. I have Google Alerts for a series of keywords that I've had. There used to be, in the past, there used to be Yahoo Alerts. Now I have Google Alerts, Google News Alerts. So for things like translation, localization, interpretation, names of companies, names of my clients, um, translation management systems, technologies, AI, and so on. So every day at 6 a.m., I get a list of news of what is going on in the industry based on those keywords. Since I follow the language industry all over the world, I have put those keywords, the keyword translation, in all the languages that I could, even Arabic, tarjama, or Chinese, fan yi. I know how to say translation in almost every language, right? So the way that I keep abreast is with news. First of all, we have industry publications. Multilingual Magazine is my go-to source. Uh, LinkedIn is a great environment. Being involved and active in LinkedIn, following those people that are thought leaders, as you said, speakers and writers, people who are discussing and having conversations about what is going on in the industry. Get out of your bubble, right? Translators talking to translators are in a bubble, and they're usually in a negative bubble. There are uh, multiple types of roles in this industry that are important. You can follow project managers, you can follow business owners, you can follow associations of translation companies, you can follow technology forums, and so on, where different people who are looking at the industry from different angles are giving you an idea of what's going on. The other thing is to engage, to talk. I talk to people all the day, every day, all the time, interviewing them for research, but also people reach out to me and they want to have a conversation, and I learn a lot about them. I participate in translator groups on Facebook. I have a group of translators that were my friends over many, many years on WhatsApp. There's a lot of gossip, but there's a lot of valuable information that is being shared in these environments. So be curious, participate, ask questions, talk to people, don't be shy. That's what I recommend.